So today we're going to be talking about technology in the restaurant industry, and by that I also mean lack thereof. So those are some of the things that we're going to discuss, and truly, this is a part of our industry and kind of part of the restaurant industry where we've always lagged behind everybody else. I mean, behind retail, behind every other industry that you can think of. So we're gonna kind of try to see how that has hurt us in potentially the COVID situation, how some restaurants and some restaurant industry groups are ahead of the game and how they're faring. We're gonna talk about software programs that are currently being used, some new technology that's out there that is really exciting, and for those innovators and that are entrepreneurs that are thinking about this post-COVID-19 era of restaurants, then this is definitely something they're looking into. And we're going to talk about, what is correct for what type of software might be good for a business that you might be thinking about, because not all software programs are developed for the same type of business. All right, so let's take a look at, the restaurant industry in all. As far as technology is concerned, we've definitely lagged behind. I mean, this is definitely an area, and I mean, I'm not blaming anybody. It's for a specific reason, right? Technology is not something that we're selling, and technology is not something that people in our industry are typically experts in, right? So we are experts in food, cooking, service, bartending, whatever it may be. Technology is not one of them. And we focus, when we're starting a new business or a new concept, we put a lot of focus into the food and beverage and the service, which is what we're going to be selling. But unfortunately for us, technology is almost equally as important. But to hire an expert in technology costs a lot of money. And as we know, running a restaurant operations is very expensive. So that's something where a lot of people actually just don't invest a lot of time money into, and they should, because it actually helps them save money. A lot of technology that's out there, the problem is that it's very expensive to implement, especially these big point of sale systems. If you've ever worked in a restaurant, you might be familiar with something like Micros, right? To put a micro system into a restaurant, that could cost up to like $50,000-$60,000, and the system's not great. So a lot of these restaurants are saying, this is even if they do make that initial investment, that technology that they just spent $60,000 on, they want it to last, kind of like a piece of equipment. Now the problem is that when it comes to technology changes and it becomes outdated very quickly. So a lot of these restaurants are still holding on to these systems that they invested a lot of money into, even maybe like 10 years ago. And they're using these systems that are quite outdated. So new technology is out there and we need to use it. I always tell people, if you think that, you have a touch screen and you're ahead of the game, well, then that's a problem. If you don't have a touch screen, that's even a bigger problem, right? So kind of those are the ways that we look at how we definitely have fallen behind. All right, so one of my favorite restaurants that I like to talk about, or restaurant concepts that I like to talk about, it's called Eatsa. And I actually, I have to change this lecture whenever I teach it, literally the week of the lecture, because technology changes so quickly. And what's interesting about Eatsa, I've been talking about them since they were still around as restaurants, which they opened in 2017. And they basically opened up contactless restaurants. So think about that, 2017, 3 years ago, COVID nowhere in sight. And they basically operated ghost kitchens that were behind panels that you couldn't see, and guests would come in, they would order their food on a tablet or on their app. And they would walk in and they had these, it was like literally looked like a wall of microwaves, and your name would appear on the microwave. And if you went in, you typed in your personal code that you got after you placed your order and paid for it, and that opened up your microwave, and then your order would be placed or would be inside. Now, what's really interesting is that it's actually shuttered all of their stores. They did have one in DC, and they actually shuttered all their stores in the summer of 2019 because, this was the actual headline that the Washington Post put as a reason of why Eatsa closed down their DC stores. But truly what they decided to do was they were like, what we're really good at? Technology. What we really don't enjoy as much? The operation of a restaurant. So they decided to literally invest in restaurant technology and become a restaurant technology concept. Now, they still own rights to this style of restaurant. They trademarked it. This is something that they own. And interestingly enough, it was Starbucks who bought the rights to this type of restaurant. So once again, think about post-COVID, this is exactly something that we would be looking to do, something that would actually work in a post-COVID place. So we'll see what Starbucks actually ends up doing with it. It would be quite interesting. So it's interesting because once again, a lot of, what's really funny is that it's like, oh, new technology. This is old technology. And if some of you are like, oh, that's so cool, it just shows you how behind we actually are. So this is technology that was invented probably close to 10 years ago. And if somebody was still wowed by it, then that's kind of a problem, right? So let's take a look at technology overall. So I always like to bring this slide up because people don't really think about how technology that we're using is actually outdated. So, PayPal has been around since 2000. It means that it's 20 years old. So that's a payment method that still people have not adapted to or adopted. Some people still don't know how to use it, but that's a 20-year-old technology that's kind of been out there and outdated. So it's definitely something we need to think about. If you're not familiar with, obviously, PayPal, Apple Pay, Venmo, Samsung Pay, whatever it is, these are things that are essential. And especially in the post-COVID restaurant era, this is something that's absolutely necessary. Contactless credit cards in the US, this is still something where maybe a few cards out there have them. I don't know how many of you guys have them. I have one, and it's not for a bank in the United States. It's for a bank account that I have in Europe. So, and I've had that contactless credit card for maybe like 2 years now. So it's crazy how behind in times we are. People always ask me, well, why? Why are we so behind? The reason is it's actually a monopoly of the credit card company, and not even them. It's the people or it's the companies that process the credit cards. So it's, if you go to Target and you have that old terminal where you stick your credit card into, it's the company that actually produces that terminal that had these manufacturing companies, the big companies, going to long-term contracts that basically were going to use that outdated technology. So it's kind of crazy. All right, some new software that's out there that is really taking over these old ones, like I already mentioned, Micros or Oracle, Aloha, Dell. These are these big old school point of sale systems, or POS that we call them in short, that restaurants have been using. And point of sale systems are essential for restaurants, right? That's where the orders come in, the server, places the order, and you can use it to track, and that's where you can process credit card payments, whatever it may be. So these are some new ones, Toast, Lavu. Toast has been blowing up. It's crazy. But there's so many out there that you truly have to go and see which are the best for your actual business. So these are just 3 that I wanted to highlight for you guys to look over. You can click on each one of them and go through a video that's kind of like we'll tell you about each one. Toast, and then Lavu. It kind of gives you an idea about how each of them is a little bit different. Square as well, and I won't play those videos. You can do that on your own. But it just gives you an idea about how varied they are and how they can make operations for restaurants so much easier. A lot of these softwares, they actually incorporate other things into the system, such as back of the house technology. So this is, or heart of the house technology. So this talks about, purchasing options. It actually helps you manage inventories. It helps you control labor costs. It helps you tell you if, you costed out a recipe and an ingredient went up in price and now your food costs on a specific item is actually higher than you anticipated. So all of those things are really interesting and important. A lot of these systems actually help with HR, so human resources. They help with training resources. They might help back of the house staff learn menu items by, picture kind of like that pizza, where was the bowl? You can actually go and place items into the bowl and it helps you train on recipes and things like that. We can do that with bartenders as well. Front of the house technology, obviously we do have the ordering system. But it also can help with, lobby displays. It can help you with, what you have, specials, things that you can update. It's usually wired into your website. So as you're updating your website, price changes, specials, all that stuff, it can actually help you. It's an all-in-one technology that kind of helps you do that. There's other aspects that we can incorporate into our software. So let's say I am using Toast, but I want to use another inventory program that helps me, maybe that I'm in sync with my vendor, where I can place orders through it, and it helps me do inventory. These are just some of the best ones that we have right now. They're a little bit different for each small business, but basically what these do is they help you purchase, they help you maintain your inventory, they help you make sure, if you know that you have to have 10 pounds of pasta on hand and you go and do inventory, this actually system, it tells you sold this much, you purchased this much, you have this much left, you need to order X amount. I mean, it's very simple. It helps you run your business. So all of these things, it actually helps you do, and it helps you be more efficient in the businesses that you run. There are different things that it helps you do as far as, monitor different things, timing on orders. It helps you calculate potentially how efficient your line employees are based on, how quickly they process orders. Online orders come in and employees can see them. How detailed online orders are, it actually helps you make less mistakes. So happier customers, right? Because it detailed things that can actually come on, which a lot of times a human error is what causes this type of stuff. So think about all these quick service restaurants like Papa John's and Pizza Hut and all those places. They actually are like, oh, use our online system, and they might even give you a discount. Well, the reason is you're doing their work for them, and you're doing it better because you double check your order to make sure that you didn't miss. If you said, you want mushrooms on only half of the pizza, you want this and the other thing, you want thin crust, and you double check your order and then you press send. Well, that actually is, you're doing a better job with your order than if you had some 16-year-old sitting on the phone trying to, listen through some static and trying to take your order and get it correctly. So you actually are doing, you're doing them a favor. And then finally, incorporated into all of these systems, and some have their own, like Toast does some of their own stuff, but we actually have labor management technology out there. This is ones that they actually help you keep your company connected. It's almost like a mini social media with just for your company. It helps you create schedules. It helps you assign tasks. It helps you, have people change their shifts, request time off, and it's all on there, post schedules, whatever it is. Connect Team is a great one that just came out and just updated their apps recently, which are super nice, and they're not very expensive. Some of you might be familiar with, you can play that video. Some of you might be familiar with Hot Schedules. They were some of the first ones to come out. They were one of the first kind of this online technology system that was adopted by a lot of restaurants. If you're not using these apps, you're crazy. Okay, a lot of them, they cost a couple of dollars a month. You literally can do something like an app for like $15 a month, and they save you so much time, and they actually, help your team be more efficient, your employees know when they're working, your managers be able to communicate with your staff, and it's something that really should be used. Financial reporting is a whole another aspect of this, but there's so many platforms that help small businesses, and especially restaurant businesses, deal with these situations. So it's definitely something to look into if you're opening up your own business. So this was kind of a quick overview of technology, what's out there for us to use, and what some restaurants are doing, what they're not doing, how it can help, and how important being progressive in technology has been during a time such as this, and definitely into the months or maybe even years post-COVID.